Bank of Canada decided to reduce our interest rates by 0.25%. My poem is entitled Banksters. This poem is in the form of a pontoon, so it seems quite repetitive because the first and third lines of each stanza become the second and fourth lines of the next stanza. So it just keeps going round and round. Central banks, self-interest rates, steal our wealth and cause higher mortgages and higher rent. Fighting inflation allows banks to dupe us all by stealth. With higher interest, with higher housing costs, more money's spent. Higher interest rates bring higher mortgages and rent, but strangely, interest rates on savings always lag. Higher housing costs mean more money spent, increasing inflation, not causing it to sag. Interest rates on our savings always lag because bank wealth is based on usury. Bank rates raise inflation that was supposed to sag and claim our cash through this absurdity. Because bank wealth is based on usury, fighting inflation, banks dupe us by stealth. Banks claim our cash through this absurdity. Central banks' self-interest rates always steal our wealth. Thank you. Now to change a little bit. This one is called The Cycle of Delusion. In suburb silos, she traces mindless days on anti-social media with faceless pals, aping influencers paid for lies. Could she be aware it's all a ruse? Privilege does not recognize herself, mirrored in pre-torn designer jeans, branded chest impaled by a t-shirt logo. She's a prostitute to corporate culture norms. She never felt the maws of hunger, nor the fists of alcoholic strife, nor awakened to a bed intruder, nor just endured, hoping for a safer life. While she, well-fed, in well-lit burbs complains when a blackout lasts a minute if it's slow, 'cause she wants supper in the oven baking in her comfort where the taps spout liquid gold. The misery of others causes not a ripple on the waters of her consciousness. Her daily wants leave no room for others. Her daily wants leave no room for others' needs. Blaming them blots out all her compassion. She believes the endless mantra she's been fed, that those who have deserve it absolutely, and those who have not have authored their own fates. Through poor choices, they deserve their misery. Buying luxury items made by low-paid staff perpetuates the obscene rich-poor breach. With her lifestyle needs, she perpetuates leaders who mimic her demands. Unwittingly, she's become a showpiece, a neoliberal propaganda clone of those living pampered lives to the extreme, never questioning the cost of their own greed. Thank you.
Well, this evening, my first poem, I don't know if I can even call it a poem, it's more of a rant in verse. And in topic, I said to Bev, I must have been channeling her. It's called Emergency in Alberta. Old Harry died last Thursday night. He had a heart attack. He was taken to the ER, of course, but due to understaffing, there was no doctor there who could try to bring him back. Then his granddaughter Susan, at 4 a.m. that day, in shock and grief at her grandpa's death, went into early labor, her baby on its way. And once again, the helpers came with speed, it must be said, but there were complications. Emergency was full, and all too soon, both Susan and her tiny babe were dead. At this, Harry's wife herself collapsed. It was the grief, you see, but we lost her too, for no ambulance was free. And this is Healthcare Alberta under the UCP. See why I said I was channeling you, Bev? Yeah. As some of you know, the last time I was here two months ago, I got a phone call, a horrible phone call that my brother had just died. And I'd like to say thank you to those of you who were so kind at that time. After his death, I wrote to emailed my cousin Sue in England to tell her, because she and my brother were very close. And she told me this most amazing story that I've turned into a poem called The Grandad Rose. For 5 years it bloomed, each year producing, didn't get the beginning, my iPad slipped. The Grandad Rose. When her husband died, her grandsons brought her a rose bush to plant in her garden in memory of him, a gift they called the Grandad Rose. For 5 years it bloomed, each year producing just a single bud. Then her father-in-law died, and 2 buds grew and bloomed. A few years later, another death, her mother gone, and the roses then were 3. And now you're gone so suddenly, and true to form, this bush of signs is blooming with 4 glorious roses. And that's a true story.
Hello. I won't be singing tonight. I'm going to read a couple Silas stories that I wrote a while ago. So this one's called Don't Kid Around with Sliders and Kiddie Pools. Cy brought his red ear slider out so he could get some sun while Cy pulled dandelions out. And when Cy's work was done, Cy went to bring his turtle in to find he wasn't there. Cy checked and rechecked where he'd been. He wasn't anywhere. We looked through grass and shrubbery throughout Cy's neighborhood. It didn't take us long to see that it would do no good. That turtle could have reached the creek 2 blocks away by then, and so Cy chose to never seek to find his friend again. So. And this one's a poem called Hidden Sorrow, and if I remember correctly, it's a villanelle, but let's see and find out. The summer Cy's iguana Frosty died. Beside the roof he'd climbed before he fell. Cy's sorrow wasn't something he could hide, although for weeks it seemed that he had tried. Cy didn't take his loved one's loss too well. The summer Cy's iguana Frosty died. Cy's friend's remains were partly liquefied around a mass continuing to swell. Cy's sorrow wasn't something he could hide. Death's scent escaped the box it occupied, a cooler under stairs that smelled like hell. The summer Cy's iguana Frosty died. My neighbors all were truly horrified and seemed a little frightened, I could tell. Cy's sorrow wasn't something he could hide. At least he'd kept poor Frosty's corpse outside until a man identified the smell. The summer Cy's iguana Frosty died. Cy's sorrow wasn't something he could hide. And that's it.
Okay. My poem's a little long, so I apologize for that, but it's called Fame and Glory. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. We have each had a life full of traumas and strife, trying to make it through each day. This is my story, without fame and glory. Here is what I have to say. When I was small, I had nothing at all that wasn't on somebody's whim. I knew I was smart and I had a good heart, but I wasn't proper or prim. I played in the dirt, never wore a skirt, and I enjoyed what the boys like to do. We would climb trees, fall and skin our knees, and I never knew that while I grew bigger, why I could never figure out why I could never do right. I would fight with defiance, yet I learned self-reliance, for I was alone in the night. I was treated like dirt, and no matter the hurt, I was told to suck it up. I could never confide, so I would hide myself until I had enough. Then I would rebel. I'd scream and yell that life was so unfair. All I wanted was affection, and after self-reflection, I just wanted somebody to care. I felt so alone, and had I known that affection was beyond what they could give, I can't say that it would, but maybe it could have changed the life I had to live. I was looking for love from people from above, trying to find my own way. Looking in places at so many faces, and yet I knew not what to say. How do you tell someone that you lived through hell and you're looking for a white knight? They tell you that you must love yourself and to trust that everything will be all right. But when you're young, you think your struggle is done once you move out on your own. You don't need the rules, you're done with school, and you believe you are now finally grown. So I did as I pleased, and life dropped me to my knees, threw hit after hit my way. But I couldn't go home, had to make it on my own, but my world was suddenly gray. I would seek one to mend all the breaks and bends that have caused my knees to buckle. And the hits keep coming, and I was tired of running, so I grit my teeth and curled my knuckles. I was prepared to fight and thought, you'll be all right, but I had no idea what was in store. I was beaten and bruised, abandoned and used, and I just couldn't take any more. But the hits didn't cease, and I just wanted peace, and I cried and I begged for rest. I was determined to try to smile and not cry, and I would give it my best. I know I did feel that one day I could heal, for darkness doesn't last forever. Then I found someone who didn't make me feel blue, and I thought, that's a life that's better. And that's when he cheats, and so my fist beats on the wall in hurt and frustration. I waited so long, and now it's just gone, and I have run out of patience. So I look for another who is not like my mother or my father, because that didn't work. And I settled for the worst because I thought I was cursed, and I suffered because they're just a jerk. They treated me like, and I took the hit because I didn't know my own worth. I was beat down so long that my confidence was gone, and I had made a home in the dirt. Then one day I did break, the baggage I did shake, and I realized that it's not all mine. I was dragging the trauma, the lies and the drama, and I knew that now it was time. So I opened the baggage, and it left me ragged and aching from emotion long buried. But I start to forgive all the pain that I lived and the jerk I had married. I began to see the me that I want to be, and I needed to figure out how to become that version and begin the conversion. And I made myself a vow that I wouldn't let a soul drag me down into a hole, and I will stand tall and proud. I will chase away the dark and mend my own heart, and never again will I allow another to abuse, betray, or use the kindness that is a part of me. I stopped looking for a knight, for I am the light that in the dark shines for all to see. I started to believe in the kid climbing trees who thought the world was fair. And I made me a promise that I'll always be honest and that I won't be scared. To be on my own now that I'm grown and I have seen what life really is. I am strong and stable, and I am fully able to be mine, not hers or his. Then one day I find a man so kind sitting across from me. I thought it's a dream, not knowing what it would mean, and there is no way it could be. I began to understand I fell in love with this man and never stood a chance of resisting. That he is honest and kind and who I wished I would find, and he is my reason for existing. He swept me off my feet and out into the street where I sang my joy for all to hear. Day one I knew he would always be true, and I had not one shred of fear. Through the month of November, all I can remember is being the happiest I had ever been. Although I never expected forever, what happened next I couldn't have seen. 30 days in, our lives were to begin anew as husband and wife. I could never have guessed that I'd be so blessed to get to share my life with this man that was waiting for me to finish making me into who I needed to be. Now I am whole, I accomplished my goal, but I have more work to do on me. My growing is not done, but I feel as though I have won the game that we are all here to play. I have the love of a man who likes to hold my hand, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I had to choose to forgive the abuse and be thankful for the lessons learned. How everything happened, how my soul was blackened, the times that my heart was burned. It was all for a reason through the breath of a season, and I made sure to crawl from the dust. I had to put myself together, face stormy weather, and let go of my fear and mistrust. I found a new path, and I'm happy at last, and it's not just because of him. I could let go of the pain and bring peace to my brain, and though my world sometimes goes dim, I know I am light, and the dark of night will be a reminder to never go back, chasing shadows of dreams through echoes of screams that are swallowed up by the black. I now live in the sun, and when our day is done, we hold each other and tell of our woes. And we speak of our visions and make our decisions and pull our dreams from the shadows. We are creating a life now as husband and wife that will make those dreams come to fruition. The horrors I faced were not a waste, for they allowed me to have my ambition. The moral of the story is you don't need fame and glory to have a life that you deserve, that you can make peace and your traumas will cease if you can summon your nerve, to do what is just and to do what you must to end all your pain and struggle, to destroy and kill the demons breaking your will so you can pull yourself from the rubble. Stand tall and proud, and you are allowed to make mistakes and wear a frown. But you must heal your heart. Now's a good time to start, and never let shadows tarnish your crown. Your life is yours to shape. Not all heroes wear capes. Be the hero of your own story. And maybe you'll find the life you designed will be full of your own fame and glory. The words that you write will tell of your life in words of your own making. And you have the power to be fierce and not cower and piece yourself together after breaking. We all need to break to see what's at stake and to make the changes we need. When you can comprehend it's a beginning and not an end, your wildest dreams you can then exceed. Thank you.
Well, I've been doing a little bit of beadwork lately, and so it's really helped me in some of my healing that I'm doing, so this is a work in progress. Each seed bead is a universe. Through the sinew of Nitsidipi wisdom, legends are told, bead workers weave its stories. Beating through the winter, I watch as drifts form and snowflakes swirl. In geometric chaos, a tapestry of sisterhood in realm of dreams. Each seed bead is a universe. Circles spinning, patterns repeat, for in this craft a truth is found, interwoven and tightly, yet sometimes loosely bound. A flower's bloom, a symbol of the sun, Nadotsi's rays bring forth the taste of blood. Mistakes are made and petals fall, returning to the dirt's ovaries. The endless cycle woven in grace. Beating geometric shapes in almost perfect symmetry, echoes the cosmos, chasing the bear. A circle endless, no beginning, no ending, where beads and threads and time and space is matrix. Blackfoot art is a truth scene that all is connected in an infinite stream. For every stitch, every bead, every line reflects the water, sky, and blood clot. A quiet afternoon of needles and thread, Blackfoot hands weave stories at one time said. A hank of beads, the texture of northern light sky. It illuminates a path of arrows shot at the stars by brown weasel woman. Each seed bead is a universe, a world infinitely told. In smoked hide, our stories unfold. Threads of time sometimes tangle and intertwine, like a prayer written in chalk. Each piece carries the wisdom of the old people, along with their prayers. From bead to thread, needle and hide, a sacred sisterhood. Again and again, the circle of women is woven. For we cannot divide nor define the connections that shape our blood designs. Each relationship a thread in the weave, inseparable as to love and to grieve. Land we walk, our truths dwell in the clay, in the ammonite clay. Beadwork is not just a craft or quest, but a path of spirit where we manifest like witches. Thank you.
It's been 2 months since I've been here, so last time I was here, I read the first 2 parts of a prairie epic that I wrote. So I'll read the next 2 parts, and then maybe next month I can finish it off. And just as a refresher, the piece is called Winter Counting, and it's just about Blackfoot and sort of Cree allyship, and then also Edmonton Police Service. This third part's called Indian Futurisms. I dream an alternate future where by night we plot to steal each other's fastest horses. Your cunning is right deadly. I merely have a high tolerance for pain or embarrassment. At the very least, a life where we may sit shoulder to shoulder in a Red Deer twin arena. The smell of the Zamboni's gasoline and Bauer-scored rubber mats hangs thick around us, sharing rink fries and rink gravy, while we listen to our stepdaughters chirp one another in the corners, vulgar and greasy and hilarious on the weekend of native provincials. As neighbors, as rivals, as friends, our ancestors knew a good fight was an honorable fight, was actually a game, was a story that kept us on the edges of our willow backrests. Who is left to teach this reciprocity, the sportsman-like algorithm of the acoustic? I touch, you touch. Then we are free and return home to our families and steaming bowls of stew. I am afraid they will never understand this. Instead, their cowardice is hair-triggered. It attempts to maim, to kill. Our collective anger will wear a ribbon skirt. Sometimes she is our sister, other times our auntie. But she always carries her Okugotsen knife on her belt, and she doesn't take any. Okay, fourth part is called History. Charcoal and Almighty Voice walk into a bar. The bouncer IDs them warily because their status cards are etched on birch bark, hide, and ration scripts. They order a Hefeweizen and a grassy IPA, respectively. The boys are thirsty. One uncle asks the other, "And why were you killed?" "Because I was a jealous husband," answers Charcoal. "Oh, real rank, this guy," replies Almighty Voice. "Shot my wife's lover through the eyeball," adds Charcoal. "And you?" "Because I was hungry, and my daughter was about to get married." "Gee," one says. "For real," says the other. The hefty bouncer grabs each man by the shoulder. "That's enough out of you two," he warns. "What? No Indians allowed?" asks Charcoal. "Or no bad-mouthing the Northwest Mounted Police?" asks Almighty Voice. "Read the sign," snaps the bouncer. "No martyrs." Your uncles drink their brews in peace. They chat up the pretty white woman at the pool table, the old man at the VLTs, then leave, teary-eyed, one arm around the other.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here tonight. I missed last month with a cold. My voice wouldn't talk at all. Anyway, I have two things to talk about before I read my poetry tonight. One of them is that my co-pilot, Teri, is being honored by an award that the Allied Arts Council puts on for an Individual Excellence Award for her work in poetry in the community. She'll be going, yes, let's go. She was nominated by our dear Jolene, and I just can't say how proud I am of her. And also, there will be a luncheon in October to honor the people who have been given different awards, and she invited me to come as her helper representative. So I'm pleased to go too. Okay, Teri's been doing owl poetry with a lot of our help too, but it was her idea for owl poetry. Tonight means that we have now completed 6 years of monthly poetry. We have gone through the pandemic, we went online, and we've been back here every time we could. The very first night was a night over at the Old Owl that was not that many people, about as many as were here tonight, and several of us got up twice to read because we had almost 2 hours and not quite enough poetry. But every night, there were more and more people came. And at the end of the first year, at the end of our first anniversary, there were so many people at the Old Owl that there was standing room only. We filled all of the seats. There were people sitting on the ground, sitting on the floor, eating. And I'm sure if anybody had tried to enforce the fire limits, like we would have, just been way over count. But it was a very happy night. And it was on that night that the poetry, our sign for owl poetry, was debuted. I put it together, and at every table that night, I put several of the leaves, blank leaves, along with a Sharpie pen. And I asked everyone, please, if you feel called, write down what it is that poetry means to you, or write down what owl poetry means to you. We collected all of them, glued them up there, and our tree began to have leaves. Through the years, a few more and more leaves have been added, and last year, at our 5th anniversary, we added a whole nother pile of leaves. I encourage any of you to come up during the break time or afterwards and read what some of the people have said. I've actually written them all down, and I have a manuscript of it that I want somehow to get out to people, because it has truly been very, very gratifying. Back before we started, Teri had been a member of a small group that I convened in my home. I had been doing for several years what I called story circles, where I would gather together a small group of women, the number of people who could fit around my big table, so it was about 7 or 8 of us usually. And we took on different topics, but my main goal through all of that was to help the participants find their voice, to know what they thought about things, and not be afraid to say it out loud and in public. Because I believe that creative expression, self-expression, telling the truth about our lives is the most radical thing that we can all do. And it's something that will change the world. It already has. In the years that Owl Poetry has been going on, more than a handful of people have gotten up here and come out as a member of the LGBTQIA community. Others have talked about the horrendous trauma and abuse that they have survived, and others have told the stories of their people. Tonight, you told us your life story, and I'm so glad you're here. It almost makes me cry to know that we have created a space, all of us have created a space where people can get up here and tell the truth of who they are and be received with acceptance and respect. And that feels wonderful. If we can do it here, we can continue to do it in small groups, around tables, in all of our lives. I encourage all of us to do this. So I wrote a poem today. It's been percolating in the last few days. There's been stuff going on in that country to the south of us, and there's stuff going on in the world. So I don't think this is its final form yet, but it's getting there. The world is not as it should be. There is much to fear. There's even more to mourn. Genuine hope is lost when people look to a strong man, a straw man, to save us. But a different world is possible. There is much to mourn when mothers wail for their lost sons. That woman that you see on the bus, the new immigrant, all 4 of her sons were killed by a war started by old white men fearing their power slipping away. The woman never let her sons play with toy guns, yet guns have nevertheless shaped her family. Yet a different world is possible. With the wailing comes the anger. Weep, wail, mourn, burn, but do not destroy. Enough has been ruined already. In my quiet life, I have no guns. My son didn't play with guns either. By the luck of geography and citizenship, my son is alive and well. No more dear to me than that woman's sons, very not alive, and family very not well. I can teach my son, and whoever else will listen, about state terrorism, fascism, and so-called strong men promising to make things great again. But the only agains are fear and loss, suspicion, hatred, war, and death. A different world is not something to have back again. A different world is something to create. From an ocean of tears, scramble around for any hope you can find. You might find a tiny acorn of hope. over and over and over again. Imagine what an acorn planted in hope can look like. Mighty oak, strong, dignified, a home for many living beings, a home to protect many beings. An oak in a forest planted by all of us, with the hope we struggle for within us, that hope we searched for and search for each day. We need a revolution, but maybe all we have are acorns. Turn towards life, though the world worships death. Turn toward care, even though your coworker spouts intolerance. Care for yourself with the same love and fierceness you'd show to an innocent baby, a promise of the future. Because you are that promise. You are our hope. And we need you, because you, me, we are the ones we've been waiting for. A different world is possible. We create it within us and then around us. A different world is possible. Little acorn hope, let's plant it now. I have a few haikus. I don't usually write in a specific form, but I tried my hand at it. I'm going to read 2 haikus, and then I'm going to read 2 waka poetry, which is kind of like a haiku. A haiku has 5 syllables in the first line, 7 in the second, 5 in the third. And a waka is 5 syllables, 7 syllables. 5 syllables, 7, and then 7 again. One more day with pain. Nevertheless, she persists. May I carry on? Watching the dark sky, shall I mourn my summer plans or treasure the green? These are the wakas. Even with no bars, we keep ourselves imprisoned to stave off their rage. Fearing that they will punish, we retreat into silence. Frustrated by life, I learn not to believe lies that demand I serve, reinforced by idiots. But I leap to freedom now. And the final haiku for tonight. Appalled at the mess, another world is possible. I clean up one piece. Thank you.
So I've got about 4 short ones for you guys, so I hope you enjoy. This first one's called Coffee. I start my day with coffee. I end my day with dread. The warm water gives me comfort. The sunset bookends my day. When I sip in the morning, my mind is okay. I wish the cup could continue for the rest of the day. When I lay my head in the evening, I wish it was morning so I can feel okay. I start my morning with coffee. This next one is called Stolen Moment. The moment was there for the taking, so take my breath away, starve my heart, beat me down with my heartbeat. Of all the things I know, I wish I knew you, in the truest sense of the word. Wishes, I wish I was here to stay, but rather where my feet are, yet presence is so elusive. When was the last time I got a present? Time? The last time? Where does time go? Will you go? Will you take me? Will you take me as I am?
Hello, I have 2 poems to share tonight. This first one does just loosely reference domestic violence, so I wanted to give a content warning for y'all first. But let's do it. My Google Calendar made me do it. I don't know how it happened, but you inadvertently put your business meetings in my digital calendar. And I'm sure you thought they just vanished into the ether, much like my inhibitions when we spent our evenings together eating ice cream from the wholesale store in stolen hotel bathrobes. But they grew fins and tails and scales. They swirled behind my eyeballs, goldfish memories in a koi pond, pressing flashcards against my retinas of a life I'm sure I lived, but I still don't know how or why, other than why not. A life where a fist-sized hole kept watch outside my bedroom door, and hallways grew a quarter-inch narrower each week. The bedroom became a waiting room where I'd make small talk with a stranger, and the smell of your skin somehow always managed to be worse than I last remembered. The goldfish turned into piranhas, circling, looking to eat me alive from the inside. I wish them to be cannibalized in the ruthless, emotionless way that nature often satiates herself. But I find myself becoming a snake eating its own tail, choking it down like a pill that's hard to swallow, when in reality I'm spiraling into my own bowels. And I could say, it's you who did this to me. But I imagine you'd just tell me not to talk with my mouth full. Thank you. And then the second poem tonight, my final piece that I'm going to share, is called The Summer I've Never Told Anyone About. A lifetime ago, my lover told me, your tastes like strawberries. And for years, I've thought of the sweetness that lived in that moment. I was sun-ripened, full of seeds. It was whole and organic, the way the words leapt from his mouth. And I spent far too long thinking I tasted like candy, when the truth is, truly, I taste like sweat and dirt, fructose and esters. I taste like jumping off the high dive. I taste like reaching your hand into the garbage disposal to find a wayward spoon. I taste like the collapse after crossing the finish line. Thank you.
So, I have bought a few of my really early poems, as well as one more recent on my phone. I'll start with the older ones. Very adolescent, I'm sure you will find. I hope I can read them in this bright light. This first one is called On the Good Ship Polyflop. In a desert isle on the Arctic Sea was Marine, the camel, Polaroid boy, bear, and me. Well, I always wondered what it would be like to sing when eating crackers and riding a Chinese bike. So filled I my lungs with air and expounded to them my song. And soon it was all over, and all over before long. And when I were done, I all surprised by applause of camels loud snorting and bear clapping paws. It filled my heart with wondrous delight, their spontaneous reaction to that haunt winter's night. Their ears all perked and tails wagged too, when hitherto upped a Russian kangaroo on a beer belly's back, all garbed in starched robes, with peasant's cap, reverse navel, and jolly earlobes, pulling a Viking ship on a golden chain, carrying an umbrella in case it rained. But all it exploded, and I alone there with none of the camel, kangaroo, or bear. I looked out to sea as far as I could reach, saw me a pogo stick carrying English teach, come popcorning across the oh shit waves, carrying a sign saying Jesus saves. I saw him tree it wavered in a strong monsoon breeze, an iceberger melted and calm were the seas. Class be assembled, she puffed and exclaimed, but later postponed, 'cause tonsils inflamed. Her rubber foot melted and caused quite a stench, so I threw a dart at her and popped the old wench. But out of the sky, like some mighty mouse, came flying a tea bag and her fine young spouse, all wet in a bath tube, all nudie and fine, singing bar of soap commercial and singing Old Lang Resign. Approached a goose, honkering its bill, signing a check for an odor not filled of Chinese food, ordered 10 days before, but the check were no good and bounced out the door. Einstein's theory appeared in the skies, a secret foreign message, coded and disguised. When Shakespeare came by, sucking his thumb, carrying a 13-gauge shotgun and shooting at a plum. Riding Hood and Ostrich and Galloping Quick stopped up before me, my face to lick. All slobbered, mangled, forlorn was I. So I put on my wings and started to fly across the heavens' sakes and vanished from sight and ain't never been seen since that fateful night. I know that's kind of silly, but I might have been probably 16 years old when I wrote that one. This is another one from about that same time. All foggy, foggy grows the night, and dim and stinky too, of rats and mice and badgers, and other vermin too, all crawly, crawly on your face, as you lie asleep and tearing, ripping at your sheets and nibbling at your feet. Look at all the sinners sinking in the sand. Look again and see them gone unto another land, a land of rats and badgers and other vermin too. But don't be late to look, my friend, because you are sinking too. Well, that one was dated in 1961, so
we were talking a bit about communities, so I pulled up one of my poems that's called Growing Together. The people who cry and laugh together also grow together. With tears, there are usually deep conversations that create or deepen connections. With laughter, there are light-hearted times and jokes that bring us pure joy, fun, and release. We need both the depths of our loving bond and the light-hearted times with each other. With them, together we grow. And another one is Rising Like Brené Brown. Who knows Brené Brown? Put your hands up if you love Brené Brown. She's awesome. Written after I read Brené Brown's masterpiece book, Rising Strong. Own your story, or your story will own you. How do you do that, you may ask? You look at every aspect of your life, your habits, your characteristics. You embrace them and accept them. Accepting them doesn't mean you like them, but simply that you acknowledge them. You change the habits you don't like, eliminate or minimize what doesn't serve you, and pick up good habits. Form good qualities that move you in the direction you want to go. Easier said than done, you may say, and that is the humility of being a human. When you turned every rock, examined every part, integrated everything that is in you, you will feel whole and you will feel good. Does that mean you will never make a mistake? Hell no. You will keep making mistakes, you will keep falling, but like the phoenix did, you will rise, and you will rise strong.
I'm just going to do two poems. These are new ones, and I'm just trying them out. This first one is about my cats. It's called Scratch. My two tabbies are always fighting. Paws fly, a heated scrap over space on the comforter. Still, when one gets up from sleeping, the other follows. Retracted claws pitter-pattering to the kitchen. They eat together, side by side, whiskers squished into the tiny bowl. When one finishes, the other waits, tail curled in a happy question. I can't explain what you mean to me. Sometimes it comes out in scratches. Thank you. The second one, I just recently went through a breakup, so this is a poem about trying to figure out who I am, I guess. It's called Single White Female. Single white female is diagnosed by Google obsessive, malevolent, and manipulative, but she would just say antisocial. Single white female is not seeking a roommate. Single white female has men tell her she should try stand-up. Okay, here she goes. What's the deal with multiple female orgasms? It's okay if you don't get that one. Single white female is checking IDs and Yelp reviews for different women's prisons. Single white female is doing the work and educating herself. Single white female is meditating between constant dopamine hits and day drinking. Single white female is looking for eligible bachelors on incel subreddits. She's always loved a challenge. Single white female is a lesbian? That's a question for a later date. Single white female has a laundry list that she didn't make, ex-boyfriends without therapists and ex-girlfriends who just want to be friends. Single white female is opening her third eye in the grocery store and getting bored in ancient Buddhist temples. Single white female is a gold medalist in Instagram stalking and CBD-infused text. Single white female says, I can't imagine a world without you, followed by, oops, wrong number. Single white females think she could win Jeopardy, but can't spell congratulations without autocorrect. Single white female will ask for your vape and pay for your parking ticket. Single white female is signing off emails with, I apologize for the inconvenience, thanks again. Single white female blushes and giggles when you talk. Single white female has an 18-step skincare routine and an appetite for red 40, trans fat, and aspartame. Single white female is looking for 5 things she can see, 4 things she can touch, 3 things she can hear, 2 things she can smell, and 1 thing she can taste. Single white female is wasted potential with a shiny blue ribbon on her chest. Single white female is tucking herself in and kissing her own forehead. Single white female will try to call you back. She's looking for something. Leave a message. Thank you.
More Aprils. I smile when I think back on it, but his wisdom overwhelms me. For he has been down many roads, and he has seen more Aprils than I. Daydream. I dream of ones and zeros. I dream of X's and O's. I dream of sharps and flats and duple time and semitones. My next poem is called Day by Day. Earth is nothing more than a slave, tethered to its master, the sun, that toys with it, twirling it around year by year. It has only one menial task, the earth, a single uniform rotation on its axis, day by day. And the moon is a lazy good-for-nothing. It just smiles and goes along for the ride.
It's been a really long time since I've done this, so just bear with me. That's my wife. That's my wife. Anyway, sorry. All right. You feel like a picture of a park feels like home to me, and you descend within me deeply like I swallowed you along with my tongue. Wrapped around your fingertips like the sun in your hair, Rapunzel me, disgruntle me. unfurl me. Please take these words to heart. Let them be the jump start to the goodbye. Let the realism of the simile here subside and just feel the heartbeat here of what we have created, debated, ransacked, deflated, and reinstated. The brilliance of everything that happens in disguise, in your eyes, in these lies, and what lies between them. How could I do anything but ride this wave? Beyond me, beneath me, you are water, rushing forever, hushing my undertones of inquisitive, answering slightly, making lightly light of how I live between the both of you. Like sheets, each serving purpose, intertwinable, distinguishable, wrapped around me, you confound me so, and she is the melody I use to sing myself to sleep, the tickle truck I use for disguises deep beneath the mask I wear to hide my eyes on you, and I am layered in deceit and frantic in relief, but feeling none. I need to find a park, gather the animals inside for an arc, embark upon this theory of this evolution, this revolution of earth shatter, blood spatter, scene, and clean up. Thanks. And one more, I wrote this one on a bus home from Edmonton. There was an unhoused girl outside the bus station, so this is for her. So I saw you as you saw the bike. You touched the frame where the seat was missing, reminiscing like you recognized the feeling of fragmented, longing, like you recognized that you were disjointed, appointed to be the only angry voice in catastrophe, the only to rejoice in your apathy, touching your fingertips to one another, calculated measurements of existence in direct opposition to a population's resistance to acknowledge that you were alive, like that car sitting idle in drive was a target. The inclination of alienation. Rubber and glue bouncing back like twisted metaphors, meteors of childhood taunting, reminders of forever wanting a simile for you to be like a child as the stars. As if innocence wasn't hinging on a balance beam stacked with marbles and push pins, like you hadn't just missed it. As if innocence wasn't hinging on words stacked in drunk garbles and torn skin, like you hadn't resisted it. Fist clenched, kicking at the sky, aggression abound, confabulation awry, you met my eyes with defiance, trusting only reliance in the survivalist skepticism, and you are tearing away at every misconception I have, idealist, exhibitionism, wallpaper to wainscoting transition, delicate and perplexed suspicion. We are coming together in disparate resolution, absolute evolution, no restitution in the illusion, overcome. I can see you, and you are beautiful. That's it. Thanks.